Hi, I am Roberto, and let's talk a bit about behavioral science. There is a lot of knowledge accumulated in behavioral science, but it's not always brought down to our daily life level. It's rather kept abstract or kind of flashy in scientific articles. So, in this video, we will actually try to do that. We will try to bring knowledge down to our daily practice. So, basically, the topic that I will talk about right now is what in psychology is known as self-talk. And I will talk about that in three parts. First, I will tell you what exactly self-talk is. Then I will tell you what is really important for you to recognize self-talk, why this is important for you. And finally, I will give you a tiny basic recommendation and a short technique that you can use to practice your own self-talk, to improve it for yourself. So, let's begin. What is self-talk? Self-talk is nothing else than our inner speech, our internal dialogue, and it basically has to do with, how we talk to ourselves. So, in other words, self-talk is it's our conscious thoughts, our train of thoughts, and it is better understood when we think about a predetermined setting or context or a predetermined time in which we are thinking about certain things, right? So to put an example, imagine that you have to participate in a difficult meeting at work, or you have to go to a family reunion that you are not that enthusiastic about, and in those moments you are probably thinking repeatedly to yourself like, I don't want to be there, I don't feel like this is good, or this is gonna go really bad, it's going to be a disaster, why am I even here? All of these things that come naturally to your mind, that is self-talk. So these thoughts just come to us, and the best way to understand them, like I said, is that they are either internal or external statements. So sometimes we do say them out loud, we just not think about it, but this is something that we simply do. And you can also recognize that when you are doing this, sometimes it's also positive, it's not always negative. That think about, for example, in one morning that you look at yourself in the mirror and then you think, hi, I really look good today. That is also self-talk, and even if you voice it out or if you're just thinking, it counts. So remember, self-talk is nothing more than our conscious thoughts in a specific time, in a specific context, and it can take the form of internal statements or external statements, it's all the same. So of course, why is it important that we recognize self-talk as part of ourselves? Well, obviously, this is a very important concept for behavioral science, and psychological science is even sometimes to be self-evident. It's so obvious that this is a topic in behavioral science that some areas also don't really take it as a thing, But those that do are really the areas that hope to intervene on self-talk. They hope to, for example, target individuals in a group to help them improve their own self-talk, their own thoughts. So, for example, if we think about sports psychology, in sports psychology, self-talk is a skill that athletes tend to train, tend to practice, so they can direct their concentration, so they can stay motivated, so they can control their energy levels, their arousal. So, but we can go beyond that, if we talk about clinical psychology. In clinical psychology, you can think of an example, for example, of people with addictions. If you have an addiction, think about the difference between thinking, I need this substance, or thinking, this substance is going to destroy me, is going to destroy my family. Of course, what I'm saying are very simplified examples of self-talk. But the idea is that if you change from negative to positive, or if you do slight changes into the way you think, it can have a major effect on your health, on your well-being, on your performance. But in this regard, the question is, why is self-talk important to you? And we first have to recognize self-talk that it's just a thing we all do. It's part of our mental human capacity. You have it, I have it. but more importantly, self-talk is kind of an evidence of how we define and see ourselves, or how we also see our world around us. It's our view on the world, because when we say these things, we are kind of transmitting our idea of how we perceive everything. And for example, you have probably heard the expression that says, okay, you are or you become what you eat, right? Well, we can think of a similar way about self-talk. You can say that you become what you think, but I know what you are thinking actually, and it doesn't mean that you will become a billionaire just because you are thinking about it. Of course, it doesn't work that way. But what is true is that self-talk is a powerful tool for change, because in most circumstances, it is very difficult that somebody can go into our minds and control what we are thinking always. We are always influenced by a lot of things, but nobody can really yet direct our way of thinking all the time. So it's a really powerful tool that we can to make our own decisions, to direct our own behavior. But I want to sum up the importance about self-talk with one quote. And this quote was written more or less by Viktor Frankl, and he's a famous psychologist. And I say more or less because I will paraphrase a bit. But what he said is this. He said, any person, even under the most terrible, difficult circumstances, can still decide what shall become of him or her mentally and spiritually. So this psychologist, Viktor Frankl, really showed in several of his writings and his works how we always have that opportunity, how we can always control our minds, even if we are being pressured or attacked by a lot of external things, So now that we know how important it is, the question is, how can we improve our self-talk? And well, just so you know again, the first step will always be that you have to recognize that self-talk is important, because it is tiny blocks that when you put them together, it shapes up who you are, it shapes up your view of the world, and this of course is a major difference, and it can have a lasting effect on what what you experience, of course. And of course, the key point is that self-talk is something that you should practice, something that you should aim to master. You don't have to be the master of masters, but it is good that you develop this skill. And before I finish this video, I want to give you some basic recommendations, like I said, about how to do this. And the first thing that you can practice is to practice positive self-talk. You have to practice positive thinking. And I know you're rolling your eyes because you have heard this many times before. But I tell you this because most of us, maybe not you, but really question yourself. Most of us were brought up with negative statements, negative verbal statements. Just think of when we were growing up as kids. Our parents were saying, don't do that, you're gonna hurt yourself, so stop that, don't get nervous, It's all these kind of messages that we grew up with. So it is normal that we are so used to thinking in a kind of negative frame of mind. So if that is normal, and it's also understandable, it's kind of like a survival instinct. We have to have that just so we can survive through our life and be careful of the risks. But the problem is that we do that too much. So the value of positive self-talk is actually quite a lot. And it does not mean that you have to always be optimistic. It does not mean that you have to always be shining. I sometimes like to use this example, that some people tend to say that, oh no, I don't want to go to the gym because I don't want to get super muscular and I don't want to look like that. And I'm usually like, okay, hold on. It's not like you go to the gym and then you suddenly become that. And it is the same way with positive self-talk. If you start to use this, it's not like you're gonna transform and be always positive and you might look like a cartoon character or anything. No, it's not like that. What's gonna happen is that you're gonna start to notice tiny differences in how you feel, tiny differences in your attitude, and you will just see these kind of incremental improvements. hopefully. But the key, like I said, is to practice self-talk. But the objective in this case is that you should aim to be calm or stay positive when it matters. When you are performing, when it can actually increase your performance or it can help you improve your well-being. So you don't always have to be positive, but just at key moments where you need it. Okay, so what you can do is practice the following technique. Think about a specific situation, think about, or at least take some time, and let's say for 1 hour when you're working on a project, just work on the project and just record what you're thinking. Just write it down. Write down every thought that comes to your mind. The most structured ideas that come up. Am I doing well? Oh, this is taking too long, those kind of things. Just make a list of what you're doing for 1 hour in this activity that is important to you, and you will have this list. So the idea is that by doing this list, you will start to realize what kind of thoughts come to your mind when you are acting or performing in this task. And if you do that, let's say multiple times or at different moments, or you do it across different tasks, I assure you that you will start to see some trends. You will start to see some similarities, or you will start to see something that is very different between situations. And then you will probably realize how predominant negative thinking is for you, and sometimes maybe how similar it is in certain situations for you. And one by one, the idea that you do with this list is that you take every line of thought that is negative and you make a positive version of it. So you can make another column and just put it there, and you try to make everything into positive, because you will probably find that a few of them or many of them are into a kind of negative frame of mind. So just memorize these positive versions, try to rehearse them a bit, and try to mechanically just bring them along the next time you're doing the task. You are just faking it at the beginning, but that's how it begins. You have to try to pretend how it feels. How would you like to feel? And you can practice this by doing it a few times. But yeah, okay, so self-talk is not just about being positive, it's also about being a bit specific and to be a bit instructional about what you are focusing on or what you want to do. So it's not just enough to be happy or to feel like, okay, everything is fine. No, you have to tell your mind what is important, what you should be doing at a specific time. So short statements that are instructional, that are specific about what to do, that's the best way to also practice self-talk. So like I said, instructional self-talk should tell you what to do, should be positive, it should have a positive element that makes you feel good. And if we go back to the previous example, imagine you are in a family reunion and it's quite unpleasant for you to be there. And yeah, you could probably say like, okay, I'm happy to be here. Think that for yourself. Well, that's not gonna do the trick. What you want to do is really tell yourself what to do, how to get something out of that situation. So if you, for example, start thinking, okay, be patient, be gentle, talk gently, make the best out of the situation. If you start to switch that frame of mind, maybe you enjoy more, maybe you get an advantage out of being at that meeting or reunion, So that's what self-talk is about practicing even in the moments that are not that difficult, but because you want to be able to do it when it matters. And if you practice in easy situations, when it's harder, it's gonna be easier. So you get it? Practice when it's easier, and when it's harder, somehow it becomes easier because you have been training, because you have been practicing. So, okay, when you are doing all of this, what you want to do is to focus on directing your attention, directing your concentration, focusing on your emotions. You can also boost your motivation. These are all objectives that self-talk can help you with. And it's really something that you should have a clear idea of what you're trying to do with a specific thought, with a specific phrase. So to summarize, you should practice positive self-talk because we tend to do the other way. You should use short, specific statements. And yeah, of course, you should make sure that you replace the negative ones with the positive ones. And you can do that, like I said, by making a list and then making positive versions of every thought for a specific situation. And yeah, finally, I really hope that this tiny introduction to self-talk has helped you. You must recognize the value of self-talk, but also how to use it, because like I said, it is part of you. And remember, what I am presenting you right now is kind of like a broad talk from the perspective of behavioral science, of psychology, the scientific aspect of it. But of course, there is much more that could be said about it from this perspective. But more importantly, there is a lot that knowledge that I know that you already have, probably from your own experiences of success or of failure with self-talk. So I would really like to read about that. So if you have them, please share them in the comments below. And also, I will have some more upcoming videos soon about this topic, about self-talk. So if you have any questions, if you have any comments about what you would like to hear about it, just let me know also. And remember, the objective of this channel is self-primacy, to promote this mindset. And the mindset is about learning, it's about practicing, it's about mastering and sharing techniques like this one or strategies to exert control over our own behavior. So I hope this was useful to you. Please support me, and you can help me promote this mindset by liking this video, by subscribing to the channel, by following me on social media. You know what to do. So thank you for watching this video, and see you again.